What's up guys, Hunter Konechny here. Today I really wanted to dive into depth on bait casting reels. So there's a lot of different sizes, there's a lot of different gear ratios, different models. And I really want to just kind of paint the picture to help you make sure you know what you need to use. And on top of that, for the guys that already have a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of niche reel sizes now that really can maximize your performance out there, help you cast lighter baits, just work better all around and be a lot more comfortable to use, be easier to use, just be more enjoyable. So really wanted to kind of dive into that and really explain, like, start to finish. Like, a lot of thought sometimes goes into just picking a bait casting reel on to make it work the most efficiently. If you're just a guy going out there having fun, I'll get to that portion too, but for the guy that really wants to cover their bases as well as possible and really know everything there is to know, that's what we're going to kind of dive into today. So let's start with the different reel sizes first, because I think this is probably a much bigger mystery and I can answer a lot more questions. And then once we're done with that, let's get into the gear ratios and when I like using specific reels and different things like that. So to start off, I'm going to use the Curado line just because that's a perfect example. Daiwa has the same thing with like the Tattoo line. A lot of manufacturers are gonna kind of have something that fits just about how this lineup is gonna lie out. So this is a good model to base it off of, and if you have another brand that you want to use, then that's fine too. Just kind of cater it towards that specific brand. So let's start out. We're gonna go largest to smallest. So to kind of just name the sizes, you have the Curado 300 right here. You have the Curado 150. You have the Curado 70, and then you have the Curado BFS. So these are all look very similar. I mean, this is the smallest in the spectrum, this is the largest in the spectrum, and yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but I mean, visually they don't really look very different, but they are drastically different in application. So to start off, the Curado 300, what this is going to be used for, so like I said, this is a much larger reel than the others. The spool is a lot bigger, holds a lot more line, handles bigger. It's just a powerful, bigger reel overall. What this is meant for and what this really shines for is storing big baits. So like your big swim baits. So I'm gonna say if you're throwing this, you probably want to be throwing something like 2 ounces or heavier is really where it's gonna shine. So like I said, swim baits. So your big old mag drafts, glide baits, things like that, just very large baits is what the 300 is designed for. So that's pretty much the only application that I am going to use it for is the swim baits, and it really does it well. It's a great reel for it. This isn't going to be something that you're going to want to just use as a general application though. Like you're not going to want to go throw your jigs or something like that. It's just not really made for it. It's not going to cast it as well. It's heavy. So, and then you're obviously going to want to match the rod to kind of fit the heavier baits if you're throwing something like this. But the Curado 300 is a great reel. You're just going to want to use it for those big heavy applications. So the next one down the list, if someone was just asking like, oh, I want to get my first bait caster reel and just really fit all bases, the Curado MGL 150 is kind of that just workhorse, do it all, like good at everything kind of reel. So this is going to be great for just about any application except for the lighter stuff. So if really, I mean, you're throwing pretty much anything. Like back in the day, 10 years ago, before they came out with all these sizes, they've always had the bigger reels as well, but this is all we had. We had a 200 size Curado, 150 size Curado, and we just ran with it. So that was all we had back in the day, but now there's more sizes and we can kind of fine tune that. But when I'm going to use this is for pretty much any bait over like 1/2 ounce or 5 ounce or 5/8 of an ounce. It's really going to work good for that. So just about any kind of bait. So you can throw your jigs, Carolina rigs, I mean you can go spinner baits, top water. It's my frog reel, I like flipping with it. I can do just about anything. If it's heavier than 1/2 ounce, it's gonna really thrive. And these things will cast lighter than that, but that's kind of like the spot where it's kind of the point of diminishing return where some of these other reels are gonna start to play. So I'd say 5/8 is a good cut. 5/8 half ounce is a good cutoff, but this is the Workhorse. If you just want one reel, this is the one you're gonna want. It works really well. So the next one, which is kind of a newer one to me, is the Curado 70. So this one is smaller than the 150, so it's got a smaller spool, it's got just a smaller footprint overall. I actually really like how this one fits in my hand, so moving forward I'm going to be grabbing a lot more of these over the standard 150 size, because these things do a lot really well, and it casts lighter stuff better. So the benefit to the Curado 70, it's got a smaller spool, it takes less inertia to start it, and you can cast light stuff good. So if I'm throwing anything lighter than a half ounce and we're not getting super light, like 1/4 ounce or so, this is the reel I'm going to choose every time. So you would be surprised how far you can throw a 5-inch Senko on this reel. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, you can throw this as far as a half ounce spinner bait or anything else with just a 5-inch Senko on this reel. It just casts really good. But like I said, this is really going to shine when you're kind of getting into those lighter applications. So anything under a half ounce, like 3/8 to half ounce, which fits a lot of different baits actually, this is really good for that. So like I said, I'm going to be picking a lot more of these up. I've got plenty of these size. I only have 2 of these size right now, so I would rather throw this than the 150 if I had the choice, to be honest with you. A lot of times if I'm starting to throw pretty heavy stuff, or if I'm like frogging, I like to feel a little bit more solid reel. Or if I'm flipping a light bait, I'll do it on that 70 all day long. If I'm flipping a heavier one and kind of more punching, you do feel the difference, and you kind of like the stronger one a little bit better. But that 70 I feel like is kind of slept on, and if you guys haven't tried it, especially if you're going to pick one application to throw it on, the Senko, I don't know that there is a better reel than that 70 size for throwing a standard 5-inch Senko. So definitely something to keep in mind. Lastly, the BFS reel. So BFS fishing has been something that's been around in Japan forever, but it really took off, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. And it's added a whole new complexity to fishing that it's awesome. I mean, now you can get away with throwing things that you could never throw on a baitcaster on a baitcaster. So this basically can do anything you would ever do on a spinning rod, you can now do with this. So you can cast baits 1/8 of an ounce if you have the right rod to pair with it. You typically spool these up with lighter line, so the most you're probably ever going to use is like 8-pound line, as you would in say like a lighter spinning application. But like 6-7 pound line is what you're going to use most often. And you can cast light baits really far with this. So the BFS rod or reel really shines on like 3/8 of an ounce or lighter. So it'll do 3/8 just fine, it'll do lighter just fine, but that's really where this is going to step in. So if you haven't used one of these yet, I was a little bit skeptical at first, and next thing you know, I threw that was like my go-to rod all spring, was throwing that little BFS reel, which is just crazy to think about. I mean, we started with the, like I said, like the 150 size was kind of the workhorse. Now we're using this dang little BFS reel, and it's getting the job done. So that kind of covers all the sizes, but to just kind of get into a little bit higher level, so basically you're going to have your big one, which is going to be roughly a 300 size, and when they say 300, that's referring to the spool sizes. The next one down, you're going to have your standard size, which is going to be like 150 to 200 sized reels, and then you're going to have like your 750 to 70 size is going to be kind of like the small one before the BFS, and then BFS obviously is the smallest there. But yeah, that kind of breaks it down for you. Now, before we get into the video too much further, I just want to remind you guys I am giving a reel away once I hit 2,000 subscribers. I've been growing quick, and I really appreciate all the support for you guys. So all you have to do to be eligible is just subscribe to my channel, and I will be giving it away once we hit 2,000. But next thing is gear ratio. So gear ratios, we'll keep it fairly simple for you. So with bait casting rods or reels, that's typically going to range anywhere from 6-to-1 to 8-to-1. 8-to-1 is going to be faster, 6-to-1 is going to be slower. And what that means is one turn of the handle is going to turn that spool 8 times, which translates to how much line it's basically going to retrieve on each reel turn. So a faster reel is going to bring in more line, a slower reel is going to bring in less line. And when you're going to use each application, so we'll start off kind of in the middle. So the guy who just wants to pick up a reel that's going to work good for him in just about any situation, that 7-to-1 reel is like the perfect sweet spot where you can do just about anything on it and it's going to do it just fine. So for a guy that's just looking for just a versatile reel that can do just about anything, 7-to-1's the money spot. For the slower spectrum, I don't tend to go this way very often, with the exception of just about, I'd say one application. So with a deep diving crankbait, I like throwing that on a 6-to-1 just because it's slower, you're continuously cranking, there's a lot of resistance behind the bait, and it's easier on you throughout the day if you're not trying to fight it as hard with the reel. So for a deep diving crankbait, I like going slower, I like going 6-to-1. For 8-to-1, that's going to work really good in situations where you're trying to retrieve a lot of line really fast. So some specific examples, if you're throwing like a frog, where with a frog sometimes you really have to get that line caught up quick when you're setting the hook when they blow up on that. So that would be like an example. I like using an 8-to-1 reel with the Senko, because when I throw that thing out and the cast is done, I want to get that thing back to me as fast as possible so I can make the next cast. So that's like another example. Flipping is a perfect example. You throw your bait out, you do your thing for a second. If the fish doesn't bite it, you reel it back in and flip it to the next spot. So the faster you can get that bait back to you, the faster you can get into that next little pocket. So that's where the faster reels shine, is in situations you're trying to retrieve the line faster. So specific examples, so when I'm going to use an 8-to-1, like I said, frogs. I like them on topwater just in general for like my walking baits too. I just feel like the cadence and the tempo of it kind of matches up, especially when the boat's moving forward, with the faster reel for me. If you're on the bank or you like fishing slower, then maybe the 7-to-1. The 7-to-1 will work either way too, but that's one example. If I'm throwing like jigs, Carolina rigs, bottom, basically any bait you're going to have to set the hook on that's moving slower, I like a faster reel with that, because sometimes when they bite it and you're at the end of your pole, you got to get some of that slack cut up before you can set the hook. So having a faster reel is definitely beneficial in that situation. So keep it simple. If you need to pick up line quickly, 8-to-1. Now for the 7-to-1 reels, like I said, there is a lot of applications for this. So I mean, if you're just chucking and winding a spinner bait, I mean just about everything. But the techniques, you need to get the line in super fast, or you need it slower than normal, like a deep diving crankbait. 70% of the stuff in the middle, you're going to throw on that 7-to-1 and it's going to work just fine for you. So the two most common sizes are going to be that like 150-200 size and that 70 size. That's what you're going to do 85-90% of your applications with. And then you got your two extremes. So BFS is super light, 300 super heavy swim baits. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, make sure and drop that down below. If you have any video ideas you want to see, I'm going to be doing these more often, so drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys would like to see in the future. I hope this was helpful. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up there, and I hope you guys enjoyed.